I want to recommend you this list of journals that you can access for free, so then you can do more readings about current issues in linguistic studies. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Hello students, it's great to see you again. Today, we will talk about macro-linguistics. We're going to look at some current issues in macro-linguistics. Do you still remember in the previous meeting, I have introduced you to at least some subfields or branches of linguistics, which is part of macro-linguistics, sociolinguistics, semiotics, psycholinguistics, translation, and discourse analysis. Now we're going to look at it one by one. Now we move to macro-linguistics. You know, the first macro-linguistics issue that I try to bring to you is the use of code switching. Why this is always a hot issues, you know? It is still a current research, you know. Why? Because our world, and everybody's now tends to be bilinguals, People try to learn new language, or new languages. So state or nation is now borderless, where people communicate, people go across, visit each other, continue study overseas. So the acquisitions of new language or language learning, takes place. It happens. Many people produce, or master more than one language, and code switching happens. And code switching also is very influential in, negotiating business, in education. It's something common, even in daily basis. We look at how people, code switch from one language to another language, to be able to deal with some projects, for example. I witnessed by myself, a colleague of mine, master English, Mandarin, and Malay, and he was pretty successful in negotiating, the business deals, big projects with different with different clients. With different clients. So it helps him in his career also, because of the multilingualism. All right. Now, in social linguistics also, if you look at this research also, the issue that is also discussed, is about language variation, in online classroom in tertiary level Indonesia. Right now, because of Industrial Revolution 4.0, because of COVID-19 pandemic, classroom is now mediated by online platform, through Zoom, through any kind of online platform. So here, language variation is or was developed, created both by the teacher or the lecturer or by the students. It's very interesting. How emoticon was created, how short form of language was created. So the new variations of language, developed or structured because of, this situation. Language variation is now expanded, the meaning into in the online platform. Also, you can look at the language variations of teenagers, let's say, when they use it as their identity in their social media right now. So you can look at social media, how, people, teenagers, university students, professional, try to construct their identity through an online platform, through a social media, for example, how they want to be, how they develop the image and how want to be perceived through their social media. It's a new identity and it's a new issue, and it's very interesting, all right, to discuss when you deal with social linguistics. Okay. Next, What about semiotics? In macro-linguistics, there are some semiotics discussions that, is very interesting. So in this research, the group of this researcher talk about speech communication related to the process of traditional therapeutic efforts among the Baduy people in the Lebak Regency, Indonesia. This was taken from Malaysian Journal of Communication. This group of University of Pajajaran researchers look at, the use of the symbols, how, the these people, try to heal, through the spell, to the gods, to their gods. Traditionally, how they try to communicate through the speech, through this spell, So it is very interesting how this spell symbolizes something, the sign, the meaning, inside the spell of these Baduy people during the therapy. All right. This is also very interesting. So when you talk about semiotics, it can be also related to your beliefs, to your religions. How, in this research, how the Quran communicates health, it's how you find the symbol of, healthy, in the Quran, from semiotics perspective, which is interesting because in holy books, there are a lot of messages that can be understood by people, that can be useful by the people. So then, it helps our life, through or by understanding how our holy book communicates something, but it has to be analyzed properly. So these kind of issues, you also can consider to be the topics of your research, Okay, now we discuss about discourse analysis. Remember, in the beginning, we have talked that actually discourse analysis is a study of language by considering its context and context. There are some issues in discourse analysis. As you can see, there are spoken discourse, there are written discourse, but the most common issues right now is lecture discourse, classroom discourse, which is very interesting, like what is discussed in this research. This research looks at repair strategies in English literature lectures in a university in Indonesia. Why it is very important to see? Based on this research, a lecturer has a very vital role in improving the communication skills or the language skills of the students, especially English literature students, because they will be a competent communicator. So if the lecturer, does not repair the mistakes of the students will keep making mistakes, or produce improper language, for example. So this is what is discussed in this research. This research also, try to help, a lecturer or lecturers in general, how to manage the lecture or the class interactively or more communicatively. So you can look at these aspects in classroom discourse or in lecture discourse, for example. Another thing which is interesting that you can also make it as your topics later. Some of the issue is related to critical discourse analysis. Look at this research. The title of this research is Representation of People with HIV/AIDS in two different newspapers in Indonesia, the Jakarta Post and the Jakarta Globe. So these researchers try to look at how actually the news, try to describe or try to represent these people with HIV/AIDS. Are the newspapers try to make bad representations of people with HIV/AIDS, which are dangerous, for example, or, these newspapers tries to also bring the story of people with HIV/AIDS, actually, they are okay. There is no issue with people with HIV/AIDS. We can still, make friends with them. We can still hang out with them. These people need to be, we need to take care of them. We need to help people with HIV/AIDS, not avoiding that. So it's very important to look at health issue, in newspaper also. So principally, you can look at how an issue or a thing is represented in newspaper or in magazine or in any kind of media, for example. So that's the thing that you can discuss in discourse analysis. Now, we talk about psycholinguistics. There are a lot of issues about psycholinguistics, which is very interesting. So psycholinguistics is about how, we process our language in our brain. So in this research, this research look at a mental lexicon, the organizations of word in mental lexicon. So how people, organize word in their brain, so then it creates, a systematical or well-structured information, all right, which is very interesting. How words are processed in our brain. So, and in this research, the researchers try to, use a test, from word association test. Actually, there's some software, or there's some tests that can be done, by you as a researcher, as a student, so then you can use that for your research, all right? Another study in psycholinguistics, which becomes quite current, is also, you look at this, you look at how, people with special needs, produce language. You can look at children with autism, for example. You look at, students with special needs, other group of children, for example. This particular research actually looks at narrative skills in primary school children with autism in relation to language and nonverbal temporal sequencing. It's always, interesting to look at the language from the kids with autism, how this therapy, how experts can help children with autism in communicating what is in their mind. Because, as we know, autism has, children with autism, have problems with communication, and how they mingle with the society. So this research is very significant to be done if you're interested in this issue. All right, another thing that is also included in macro-linguistics is translation. Now, you look at this research. This research is investigating consecutive interpreting strategies on a court setting. How is the role of an interpreter in a court? In international court, in borderless society like today, a lot of cases of crimes happen in Indonesia, for example, or overseas, done by foreigners, for example. And the foreigners, do not understand our language, for example. So, in our legal system, an interpreter can present in the court, to help interpreting or to help mediating the question and answer between the judge, and the suspect, for example, and the lawyer, for example. So, in this research, the researchers tries to look at that phenomenon, how is the interpreter, mediate the court session, in a court setting, which is very interesting. Meanwhile, in this research, this is the second research about translation, is about misconstructing characters, a critical look at the translation of the swearing words. This is very interesting because, we try to translate, word by word, for example, phrase by phrase, or an idiom, or a swear, a swear word. then you cannot do it literally, because that kind of expressions are very cultural, you know. You cannot just do it one by one, you know. So it is very interesting for you, you know, to discuss about cultural translation, you know, how an expression like swearing words or idioms, for example, are translated and adjusted so that it can be understood by other speakers of language. So if you're into translation, you may consider this as your research topic. Now, we have talked and discussed about some current issues both in micro and macro linguistics. I want to recommend you this list of journals that you can access for free, so then you can do more readings about current issues in linguistic studies. This is the first journal that I recommend you, and you look at the screen, you know, I also put the website address. So you can refer to that and access that for free, okay? The first journal that I recommend you so that you can find some current issues in linguistic studies is Teknokrat, Jurnal Bahasa dan Sastra, yeah? Or Teknokrat, it's a language and literature journal. So here in this journal, you can look at both micro and macro linguistic issues, all right? And sure, you already take note, yeah, the website address, so then you can visit the journal right after watching my lecture. The next interesting journal that you can access is Indonesian Journal of EFL and Linguistics. You can see, based on the title of the journal, actually this journal publishes scientific writing about language, education, and linguistics issues. Yeah, this journal is published like 2 or 3 times a year that you can access also for free, and you know, a lot of useful and informative articles that you can use as guidelines, yeah, as your to enrich your readings about particular topic that you're interested in. This is another journal, and this is international reputable journal published by Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. It's Indonesian Journal of Applied Linguistics. If you look at the title, you must be able to relate that this is related to applied linguistics, yeah, how language is used in different contexts. So you can access this journal also for free without paying anything, yeah. This one is journal from overseas. When you are in Indonesia, it doesn't mean that you cannot access good articles published by international publishers. You can access this Journal of English Linguistics. It means that this journal, you know, publishes a lot of articles which is related to English linguistics. So it covers all of the issues in linguistics, but it only limits on a discussion of English linguistics. So you can also see the web address down there, all right? Next, this is 3L. This is a Q1 journal, which is very reputable, yeah, Language, Linguistics, and Literature. It covers articles from different backgrounds, language, linguistics, and also literature. So if you are interested in literature, this journal also can give you a list of good articles that you can refer to. Meanwhile, here is Asian Englishes. This journal mainly it is interested in the issues of English, yeah, language in the Asian context. So if you are looking at a topic, or you are interested in looking at how language, especially English, is used and the role and the functions in Asian countries, so this will be the best journal that you can refer to. And this is also an international reputable journal. Next, if you look at the title, the name of the journal is Linguistics and Education. It means that if you are interested in looking at how linguistics and education is interrelated, so this journal is the best source for you. So you can look at many issues related how linguistic functions in educational setting and vice versa. And you can also access this for free. Now, this is a quite specific journal. So if you're into psycholinguistics, you're interested on how you want to conduct a research in relation to language processing, language acquisition, you can refer this applied psycholinguistics journal. This is discourse studies journal. So when you are interested in conducting research related to discourse studies, this journal specifically publishes articles related to discourse analysis, discourse studies in different contexts, both spoken and also written. All right? Next, this is the Interpreter and Translator Trainer Journal, which means that the journal covers publications in the area of translation and interpretation, which means that it looks at the verbal translation and also written translation. So if you want to look into publications in this area, this journal will be the best source for you. And this is also internationally recognized journal. Now, after knowing and understanding current issues or current researches in linguistics, and have lists of journals that you can refer to look at the issues further. Now, I think you need to prepare your research. How you have to start your research? How? Number one, okay, related to the current issues. You have to do these 5 steps, okay? Number 1, identify. Number 2, find. Number 3, evaluate. Number 4, apply. And number 5, acknowledge. These 5 steps will help you to identify the current issues of linguistic studies. Now, I want to explain it one by one, all right? How you have to prepare your research based on the 5 steps. Number 1, you need to understand the current issues and select a topic. You can start selecting your topic now. Think about it. Number 2, based on the list of the journals that I have informed you before, please find a databases or check those journals to find a relevant articles. After that, evaluate what you have found. When you find an article, look at it at a glance, whether it is relevant or not. After that, read the journal article. Look at the problem, the theory and the concept that they use, the methodology, the findings, and the conclusion. After that, don't forget, you have to paraphrase your reading, summarize, synthesize important points in the journal article to avoid plagiarism. Remember, plagiarism is something that cannot be accepted in academic world. And the last one, remember, when you have paraphrase, summarize, cite what you read and create an annotated bibliography. Next, we will discuss about data and data source, followed by data collecting technique and data analyzing technique. That's our meeting for today. I hope that you can refer and understand to what I have explained to you about current issues in linguistic studies so you can prepare your research. Thank you. Assalamualaikum. Good morning and bye-bye.
Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan video pembelajaran ini. Jangan lupa like, komen dan subscribe, serta nyalakan tanda loncengnya agar kalian tidak ketinggalan informasi update lainnya.
I hate body.